Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Verdan is Gold. This is Irina and this is my 50th video on YouTube. So I would like to wholeheartedly thank all those of you who found my short talks at least as interesting as to earn an honorable subscribe. And of course it would make me very, very happy and joyful if more people joined and checked out my work here in this YouTube jungle. Anyway, I am very happy to be here again and present to you today another topic on Germanic languages compared, because I've noticed that these videos are more popular than the ones on mythology. And today we're going to talk about the days of the week. Die Wochentage, veckodagarna, veckodagarna. So, I am going to present to you the different days of the week in several Germanic languages in the first part of the video, and then in the second part of the video, we're going to talk about a little bit about correspondences in other languages, a little bit of history and etymology. All right, so hope you enjoy. I'm going to start this time with the Netherlands, with Dutch. Maandag, Dinsdag, Woensdag, Donderdag, Vrijdag, Zaterdag, Zondag. Let's continue with the German, Deutsch. Montag, Dienstag, Mittwoch, Donnerstag, Freitag, Samstag, Sonntag. Schweizerdeutsch, Swiss German. Montag, Dienstag, Mittwoch, Donnerstag, Freitag, Samstag, Sonntag. The next one would be Swedish, svenska. Måndag, tisdag, onsdag, torsdag, fredag, lördag, söndag. Let's continue with the Norwegian, norsk bokmål. Mandag, tirsdag, onsdag, torsdag, fredag, lördag, söndag. Coming up next, Danish, dansk. They're spelled exactly the same, but there is a slight difference in pronunciation. Mandag, tirsdag, onsdag, torsdag, fredag, lørdag, søndag. Moving on with the isländska, with Icelandic. Mánudagur, þriðjudagur, miðvikudagur, fimmtudagur, föstudagur, laugardagur, sunnudagur. And the last one in the batch would be Faroese, føroysk. Mánadagur, torsdagur, mikudagur, höstdagur, föstdagur, laugardagur, sunnudagur. Okay, so I'm done with the first part. I hope I did not make, very extremely big mistakes in pronunciation. I hope not. Let's discuss the logic behind these words, because they contain a very interesting piece of history. So let's start by saying from the very beginning that in many languages the system is based on the Hellenistic astronomical planetary system. So you have names of planets according to the hours of the day, and the names of these planets are based on different divinities, so heavenly entities. And in the case of Germanic languages, we have the phenomenon known as interpretatio germanica. So basically they thought of, so Germanic speaking peoples thought of local deities that would correspond to the Latin and Greek ones respectively. Mind you, this system was not invented by the Greeks or Romans. It was actually based on the original system developed by ancient Sumerians and then Babylonians, but Romans eventually adopted it as well during late antiquity. Okay, so let's look at these days again. So Monday, this in Latin would be lunae dies. So think of a couple of Romance languages for comparison. We have lundi in French, lunes in Spanish, and lun in Romanian. In ancient Greek, this would have been hemera Selenes. The same logic of the day of the moon you can also find in many other examples of Indo-European languages, in Sanskrit, for example, but this goes beyond the Indo-European connection. Of course, you can find the same logic in Japanese and Korean. It's not the only possibility, though. So if you think about modern Greek, yeah, the term would be Deftera. So the second, Deftera the second, because yeah, this has a religious connotation. Sunday, as the day of the Lord, is regarded as the first day, the most important day, the first day. On the other hand, Slavic languages have a different logic. So Monday would be the first day in Slavic languages, and also the day after the day of the Lord, the day after Sunday. So, for example, in Russian, you would have Понедельник, Понедельник in Ukrainian. Let's move on to Tuesday. So Tuesday, this would be Dies Martis in Latin. In ancient Greek, hemera Areos, yeah, from the god Ares. They've chosen, so Germanic speaking peoples chose the deity known as Tyr. In Old Icelandic, this would have been Tiu on the continent, and it is derived from the Old Germanic word Tiwas, which is actually a cognate of the word Zeus in Greek. We don't really know a lot about this god from the sources, but from the name solely, we can suspect that he might have had a more important role than the one he has in the stories preserved in the writings about Norse mythology, where he's just the god who sacrifices a hand to bind the monster known as Fenrir, who would eventually swallow the god Odin at Ragnarok. But based on this etymology, we can assume that maybe at some point he was more important, so maybe he was even the chief of the Germanic pantheon. But yeah, the evidence is too flimsy to say that 100%, so with absolute certainty. Okay, coming back to modern Greek, the term used is the third day, so triti, and in Slavic languages you have the second day, so Russian vtornik, vivtorok in Ukrainian, and coming back to the Latin correspondent, Dies Martis, think of the Romance languages again, Spanish, Martes, mardi in French, or marts in Romanian. Okay, let's see about Wednesday. Wednesday would be the day of Odin. In Latin, this is Dies Mercurii. Romance languages think of Mercredi. In French, miércoles. In Spanish, Miercuri in Romanian. Hemera Hermou in Greek. Odin and Mercury, well, I suppose it's because of the fact that they do share some similarities. They're both connected to the other world. They use spells, and they are somehow connected to you know, this idea of using tricks to gain what they want, and they have these otherworldly connections, maybe also a connection to the world of the dead, and up to a certain point they can also be considered trickster gods. So maybe that was the logic behind it. All right, well, in modern Greek, like I said before, they don't use the names of the ancient gods anymore. So this would be the fourth day, Tetardi. Well, if you think of the middle, this is a point of reference to other languages, not only Germanic languages, such as Mittwoch in German. By the way, there is an older term for it, Wodenstag, but it's no longer used. So this new term, Mittwoch, replaced in German the old relative of the other Germanic languages. But Slavic languages also use this logic with the middle, yeah, as sriada, for example, in Russian, or sriada in Bulgarian. So this also means the middle. And yeah, in Icelandic, it's the same, you know, miðvikudagur. So it's the day in the middle of the week. Okay, yeah, and in Old Icelandic, just like in the case of German, they would also use Odinstagar, yeah, as a term of reference. So this is truly Odin's day. Yeah, the other way of thinking about it as the fourth day, this is not only specific to modern Greek. The same logic can also be found in other languages such as Armenian, Persian, and even Portuguese. Okay, let's move to Thursday. So this would be Jovis Dias, the day of Jupiter. The day of Jupiter, which would be in ancient Greek hemera dios. This has to do with, in Old Germanic, Thunras, yeah, the god of thunder, because they share this characteristic of thundery, being thundery deities. So the day of Thor. In other languages, in Slavic languages, for example, you know, this logic of numbers is preserved. So четверг, for example, or четверг, Russian, Ukrainian. This is the fourth day, unlike modern Greek, where you have pende, which is the fifth day. Remarkably, Icelandic uses the same logic. So fimmtudagur for Thursday is the fifth day. So pretty interesting. Portuguese as well, yeah. So this is an exception to the Romance languages. In Romance languages, we would have jueves, for example, in Spanish, or jeudi in French, or joy in Romanian. In other languages, for example, we have the languages of India, when yeah, Thursday would be the day of the guru of the gods. Yeah, in Hinduism, it is linked to the worship of the god Vishnu. And generally speaking, from Albanian to Balinese, this day is the day of some god related to the heavens, or yeah, at least several attributes in this particular area. Friday is Dies Veneris in Latin, Aphrodites hemera in ancient Greek. So in Germanic languages, this would be the day of Frigg, or the day of Freya. Frigg and Freya, so they're both divinities related to love and fertility. They are separated, or they seem to be separated in Norse mythology, although there is a suspicion that at some point they might have been the same deity, which later on split into two personalities. Okay, so you can see this name very clearly, especially in Faroese, where you have Frutjadaur. Okay, it's pronounced a little weird, but it is the day of Frigg. And in Latin languages, Romance languages, think about vendredi in French, or viner in Romanian, viernes in Spanish. A very interesting term for Friday we find in modern Greek, paraskevi, which comes from a verb meaning to prepare, because you prepare before Sabbato. Yeah, so this was inherited from the Jewish tradition. Other links you might find in Indian languages, you know, the day of Shukra, which is a name for the planet Venus, so it goes on the same logic. In Slavic languages, this follows the numbers again. So in Russian it will be Pyatnitsa, the fifth day, petek in Bulgarian, for example. Yeah, so we have both. In some languages there is a religious connotation. In other languages we have this logic of the numbers. Very interestingly, by the way, I forgot to mention this, Icelandic replaced the old term of Froya or Frigg's Day, Frjódagur, with Föstudagur, which is the fasting day. Yeah, so they replaced the Norse mythology association with a Christian one. Okay, let's continue with Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, this would be Dies Saturni in Latin, and hemera in ancient Greek, sorry, and Germanic languages just adopted it, borrowed the term as such. They, yeah, did not find a satisfying correspondent for it. Anyway, we need to bear this in mind, that these names are for planets, because heavenly bodies presided over the hours of the day, and in their turn the names were based on deities. You can find in Indian languages again some correspondences. There is a Vedic god similar to Saturn, Shani, called Shani. Yeah. In German, the term is interesting, so Samstag, because as well as the modern term in Greek, Sabato, it is linked to this tradition of the Jewish Shabbat. There was at some point a proposition from the brothers Grimm that the name is derived from an ancient Germanic deity known as Seter, but yeah, that's not really a thing. So I would be very careful when using the brothers Grimm as a point of reference, because even though their work was extremely essential for the 19th century knowledge, nowadays it's very disputed, and well, they're not really that scientific, or they're not considered to be that scientific anymore. Slavic languages, of course, use the same reference, subota, for example, and yeah, I think it's the same word in all Slavic languages, and in some Arab countries, I think it is even considered to be the first day of the week. Yeah, so Saturday. So either the first or the last day of the week. It depends a lot on how you count these days, or what point of reference you have. Either way, in Romance languages, I forgot to mention this, we have samedi, yeah, in French, or sâmbătă in Romanian. In German, I think there is also the term Sonnabend, like the eve of Sunday, used in some parts of the country. I personally never heard that being used, but so I'm not sure if it's still a thing in northern Germany, I suppose. So if I have visitors watching this channel from this area of Germany, please confirm if Sonnabend, is still a thing or not. One more thing about Saturday, very importantly, in Scandinavian languages and in Icelandic, the term comes from the old word laug, which is a hot spring or a bath. So Saturday was traditionally considered the day of bathing or of washing. Pretty fascinating. Okay, let's continue with the last day. Yeah, Sunday, Dies Solis, or Heliou Hemera in ancient Greek. So the day of the sun. Mind you, in modern Greek is it is nowadays the day of the Lord, so Kyriaki. And other interesting sayings or translations in other languages include, for example, in Russian there is a word which means resurrection, воскресенье, and in other Slavic languages it just means the non-working day. In Arabic, I think it also means the first day, or at least in some dialects. And in Indian languages, we have again this Indo-European connection. So, for example, terms such as Ravivara or Adityavara, Vara meaning a day, refers to a manner of addressing Surya, Surya being the equivalent of the sun. So Sunday, like I said before, in some cultures it is considered to be the first day of the week, and this happens not only directly but also indirectly by the naming of other days. So, for example, in Portuguese you have Monday as segunda-feira, so the second day, meaning that you consider Sunday as the first day. Other Romance languages inherited this word from dies dominica, from Latin, so dimanche in French, domingo in Spanish, or dominica in Romanian. But in Slavic languages, Monday is actually the first day. Yeah, maybe I should end this video by mentioning something about the moon and the sun. So even if Germanic languages preserved, the importance of these two heavenly bodies in Monday and Sunday, we don't know much about the mythology related to surrounding these two entities. So if you look in the Norse texts, for example, you are not going to find much about them. Perhaps something related to the fact that they are carried around the sky in chariots led by horses, going by the name of Skinfaxi and Hrimfaxi, for example, and you can also find them in the myth of the eclipses, where they are chased by the sons of the monster Fenrir, by the two wolves known as Skoll, treachery, and Hati, hate. There is some indication that these celestial bodies might have had deeper significance. So before these texts were circulating, before the Viking Age, we have the one of the Merseburger charms written in Althochdeutsch and Old High German mentioning a deity called Sunam, but yeah, it is really impossible to say what exactly they thought, or yeah, how exactly they interpreted these characters based on heavenly bodies. We do have a lot of picture stones, however, with sun wheels, so this might suggest at some point the sun at least was very important in yeah, let's call it Germanic mythology, although I don't really like the term. But the significance was definitely lost by the time the texts about Norse mythology were written down. I wrote an article about this, if you're curious, where I tried to gather evidence related to the significance of the sun and moon. I linked it in the description. Okay, that was it for today. I hope you found it at least a tad entertaining, so that you can give me a subscribe maybe as a present on my 50th video. Thanks a lot for watching, and take care. See you soon, and let's be in the pursuit of knowledge together.